What is going on, guys? It's your boy Midas, and today I'm going to be talking about this lens right here, the 22mm Canon EFM f2.0 lens. I'm going to also be talking about the 16mm Sigma f1.4 lens. So I'm basically going to be comparing both lenses in terms of which one's better for vlogging, because basically that's what I do, is I make, fitness vlogging content on Instagram. So if you haven't already checked out that, check me out on that, and you're interested in anything fitness, check me out at tmm.midas. Let's compare these two lenses, man. So throughout the whole video, I'm going to be switching between both lenses. Like right now I have the 16mm on right now, so as you can see it's probably really wide. You can get more in the frame, so I'm just gonna keep switching them out. I'm gonna keep the camera at the same position it is right now, or the same distance from where I'm sitting. You'll notice a difference in focal length between the 16mm and the 22mm. Now let's do this. I switched out the 16mm for the 22mm, so that's what we've got on right now. I'm going to be doing this throughout the entire video. I'm not going to be letting you guys know. Just try to watch and to see how each one works, if it's going to work out for you. Because honestly, I love both lenses, and I have reasons why I got both of them. So when I first got my Canon EOS M50, what happened was I needed a great lens that would give me that, smooth, creamy bokeh effect, the background blur. But I couldn't get that with the kit lens. It was a 15 to 45mm kit lens. Whatever kit lens you get with the Canon EOS M50, it's not going to be what you're going to end up using. I can guarantee that. I only used my kit lens for about, 2 weeks to a month before I got tired of it, and I had to get the 22mm. The good thing about the 22mm is it's more cost effective compared to the 16mm. The 16mm is almost $250 more expensive than the 22mm, so it's a good starter one. Also, the 22mm is known as a pancake lens for a reason. It's also because it's really light, and it's one of the best for vlogging because it can fit with most gimbals. Like when I started using this, I use it to shoot all my vertical videos on Instagram. If you want me to make a video on how I balance, how I set up my little gimbal kit, for smooth footages for my Instagram videos, make sure to let me know in the comment section. About 2 or 3 months into my vlogging experience, I started to notice the 22mm was not capturing as much as I needed the lens to capture. It's more like a mid-range, mid-angle lens compared to the 16mm, which is more of a wide-angle lens. And honestly, for vlogging, you want something that's wider angle so you can capture more in the background. But if you go for something like the 22mm, this is great for close-up shots, not close-up shots, more like mid-range shots. And you're gonna have to stand a little bit further back, if you're gonna be vlogging with this. If you wanted to use one of these lenses with a gimbal, especially one of the lightweight ones, like for example the DJI Ronin SC, which is the one I use, you want to make sure that you're not using a heavy lens with it, because honestly it will not balance right, especially if you're doing it vertically. Because I can balance all my lenses horizontally on my gimbal, but I cannot balance the 16mm vertically on my gimbal. But the 22mm, this thing balances on anything. I bring this to the store when I want to just take a quick shot at the store. It's super easy to bring around, and it's still really high quality. It's only an f2.0 compared to an f1.4 for the 16mm, which gives that creamier bokeh effect, that background blur. It's smooth, it's perfect. The images are sharper in quality. But the 22mm, I'm not saying that this is bad. It's f2.0, which is also amazing for sharpness and crispness of the image and all that stuff. But when it comes to low light performance, the 16mm definitely beats the 22mm in that aspect. The 16mm has made the Canon EOS M50 a nice entry-level camera, a nicer entry-level camera, because now you can get really high quality images and videos out of this. It's a great vlogging kit. In terms of social media, which one's the best? It depends on what you're looking what you're looking to use it for. So for example, if you wanted to use it for YouTube content, I would advise going for something with a larger frame, so you don't miss the head and like most things around, because you're going to be shooting a lot of videos horizontally. But if you're going to be shooting vertically, you can get away with the 22mm most of the time, even if it's YouTube. You can also get away with it horizontally, but you're going to have to stand further back with the 22mm. You're basically going to have to stand further back. But with the 16mm, you capture way more, and it's crisp. It's a lot better. It's just a way better value for your money. I'm not going to lie to you, I bought the 22 first, and then I got the 16mm a little bit after. So I noticed with the 16mm that my YouTube videos got a lot better. I was able to capture more, give more perspective to every video basically, and it was more clarity and sharpness in the image quality. So it depends on what you're looking you're looking to use it for. So the 22 millimeter you can get away with for as long as you need. You can even keep using it for as long as you want. But the 16 millimeter is what I would start with. If I was going to invest again, I would just start with the 16 millimeter. When it comes to pricing, if you're a little price constrained, then you want to go for the 22 millimeter f2.0 because it's significantly cheaper than the 16 millimeter. In terms of build quality, and I'm talking about how lightweight each lens is, the 22 millimeter is a clear winner in that aspect, because the 22 millimeter only weighs 105 grams compared to the 16 millimeter, which weighs 405 grams. So when it comes to which one is going to be easier to bring around as a vlogger on the road, a travel vlogger, whatever it is you're going to be doing with it, the 22 millimeter is definitely going to be easier to bring around, and you're not losing much in quality. The only time you'll want to have something like the 16 millimeter is when you're shooting something in a darker room, for example, with lower light, when you have access to very little light. That's when you want to use the 16 millimeter, because you can get away with just stepping back with the 22 millimeter and getting more people or more of yourself in the frame of the camera. With a wide aperture of f1.4, the Sigma 16 millimeter is just a little bit sharper in terms of quality or image quality compared to the 22 millimeter, which has a wide aperture, but it's only an f2.0. So the lesser you go with the aperture, the more bokeh effect you get. Basically the blurred background you see in every YouTube video these days. When I bought the Canon 22 millimeter, it didn't come with any accessories, to be honest. It was just just a little pancake lens. But when I got the Sigma f1.4, it came with a hood, and like a hood to use when you're outdoors, for example, when you're shooting outdoors. In terms of which lens I would prefer to use with a gimbal, any gimbal for that matter, because when you set up a gimbal, when you assemble a gimbal, with your camera gear, the mic, the monitor, all that stuff, you got to consider the weight of the entire setup. And the 16 millimeter is awesome if you're going to be using something that can hold this thing vertically, because I use a small rig cage with my camera to mount it vertically on my gimbal. But you're gonna need something lighter. If you use a portable gimbal, you're definitely gonna need some lightweight or smaller compact lens, just like the 22 millimeter, because the 16 millimeter is gonna be a little tougher to balance. Unless you're only gonna be doing YouTube, then yes, it definitely balances horizontally on the DJI Ronin SC. I can guarantee that, because I've definitely balanced it multiple times on there. For the pricing, when I got the 16 millimeter, I got it for about $569 Canadian, and when I got the 22 millimeter, I got this for about $317 Canadian. I think it's still going for around the same price, but it might change. You know how it goes with these things. The tack, discount here, discount there, all that, and it changes. But basically, that's like the base price. That's what you should kind of expect in terms of pricing. One is almost $200 more than the other one, but like I said, it's good to have both of them eventually, because they're not the same lens and they're different and they work differently, and they have their purpose, and they serve different purposes. But if you're going to be using prime lenses, which is basically a lens that can't zoom, then you might as well get each one. So to summarize this whole thing, when it comes to vlogging in general, my favorite lens will be the Sigma 16 millimeter lens. Since I've had this lens, I have not regretted it once. I've not regretted purchasing it once. I would rather have got that first and invested more money into that than this, little guy. But honestly, it doesn't matter, because this has served and is still serving me perfectly, and it will keep serving me because it does its job. I would tend to use the 16 millimeter for most of my YouTube videos, because you get the subject more in frame, which will be me most of the time. The 22 millimeter I tend to use for Instagram videos and a lot of B-roll, type of shots with my gimbal and all that. That's what I would use it for. But you can get these lenses for anything else. You can use the 22 millimeter as a vlogger. This can be your only lens and you will be fine. I can guarantee you that. You don't have to get the 16 millimeter, but if you want to up your game just a little bit, or even if you just want to try out and see what this lens looks like, to make that decision if you're gonna like it or want to stick with it. And that's the end of this comparison video. If you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you're new to it, there's gonna be tons and tons of reviews, digital content, and tutorials, so stay tuned. If you want to know about any more of my gear, any more of my camera gear, what I use, what I shoot with, what I edit with, all that stuff, make sure to check my Amazon storefront link in the description. If you're looking for a video on a review of the 56mm f1.4 Sigma lens, make sure to click on the video on the screen, and make sure to browse through my channel. There's lots of content that might interest you, and I will catch you guys in the next one. It's Midas, and I'm out.